Hello everybody and welcome to the Cyclical Investors Club YouTube channel. My name is Corey Kramer. This video is going to be about Pfizer. So we have a new headline that's out today. Vaccine stocks drop on concerns about RFK Jr. heading Health and Human Services. This is over on Seeking Alpha. I pulled this just so we could get like a quick look at some of the vaccine making stocks, all down pretty significantly today on that news. So let's get back to a fast graph here. So the reason I'm bringing this up, and this will be a different format than some of my other videos, almost exactly a year ago I put out a video on Pfizer. Well, I put some out before that talking about the price I'd be willing to buy it, and it got down to that price and I bought it and made a video. We bought it in the Cyclical Investors Club service over on Seeking Alpha. So the point at which we bought was right here on December 14th. I think maybe the video came out the next day on the 15th or something like that of 2023, almost like 11 months ago. And that was a pretty decent spot, I thought, where the post-COVID bust had kind of taken place. People had gotten negative on Pfizer stock, and you can see the earnings here, which is this dark green area, fell off a cliff. And my thesis was that earnings would recover over the next like 2 years or so once this kind of post-COVID bust went away and people kind of got back to normal, okay? And we saw some of that. I mean, at one point just a few months ago, mid-summer, the stock was up 15%. Total return was 26%, in less than a year. So that was pretty much on track. But we just saw with the recent headlines with the Trump election and him appointing RFK Jr., or it was announced that he's going to appoint RFK Jr. to the Health and Human Services, which oversees a bunch of these vaccine programs and all the government stuff that goes along with vaccine stuff. So I think I want to be pretty clear with what my reasoning is here. When I bought Pfizer, my thought was there's very little downside risk and probably about a 50% upside potential just if things return to normal, right? So COVID stuff would be behind us. Maybe they would get some new drugs, but basically things would normalize, maybe back to where they were in 2019. And that is exactly what was happening, right? And then if you add a little inflation on top of that, the next year, maybe they could have gone a little bit better. That was like my thesis. And given where we bought the stock at, which was like 26 a share, give or take, back pre-COVID, it was trading at $38 a share. So it was reasonable to think that that could potentially happen. That was the basic thesis. So the issue now is what RFK Jr. brings, who's known as, and I'm not an expert on him. I'm not on like most social media. Like I'm not on X and I haven't been since like, I don't know, at least 10 years probably. So I don't get involved. I try to, avoid most of these political and social, discussions and arguments and stuff. So he's not somebody that I've followed at all. Occasionally on the fringes. I heard the story about him dropping the bear off and the dead bear in Central Park or something. I think that was maybe the first time I ever heard of him. And then my wife told me that apparently he said that was true. So I don't really know the guy, but I have seen some of the arguments that he's made. And mostly what this is about is I've seen over the past year or so, or well, since COVID, but more recently, there's just been more and more vaccine skepticism that hasn't gone away. Like I just experienced it in the real world more and more. And I thought that would probably just kind of fade away and we'd go back to like normal. But really it's not. It's just kind of kindled. And now, so my thing isn't so much what he would actually do. One, we don't know if he's actually going to get confirmed. Two, it's hard to know what he would do that would be totally detrimental. But my thing is this. to have this discussion is now, it's already on the news all day, every news channel pretty much. This vaccine discussion is going to be front and center now, unless something more horrible comes up, which I hope it doesn't happen. So this is what people are going to be talking about. This is what people are going to be interested in. And from what I've observed, the anti-vaccine folks are winning this argument. And so people are going to be more hesitant to take vaccines, whether it'll be all of them, just the RNA ones, I don't know. But more and more people are just not going to be taking vaccines, and that's part of Pfizer's business. So, and that's doesn't even really include any potential negative real impact, like any kind of targeting by government or whatever. I'm not even really taking that into account, other than it's just a risk. So the real problem is things are not going to return to normal. They just are not. No matter what happens, this is going to be a hot topic for the next however many years. And I don't feel like the risk reward with Pfizer is now as good as it was. Where before I thought there was pretty much not any downside risk. Like I felt like it had pretty much bottomed here in the 20s. Now I think there's 30% downside risk. It's down 4% more than the fast graph shows today. And probably a 30% upside still if everything goes like wonderfully. So that's just kind of equal odds to me. I want to get like hardly any downside risk with a 50% upside. So that's what I was thinking when I bought the stock. I think that risk reward has changed a lot and is unlikely from what I'm seeing people's reactions to be. I mean, there are people that I meet that I wouldn't really think cared too much like about this issue that are really like still upset about things from a couple years ago. So, and that's their right. That's just the fact that that's the way it is. And what I thought was maybe just going to kind of go away and people would find other things to pay attention to is really not going away now. That you have somebody who's a significant part of his life, it appears, was dedicated toward, I don't even know what the right word is. They just make them up. Skepticism, hesitancy, whatever. I don't know. But not pro-vaccine in general. Not the way that it's been going, which is what Pfizer's been doing. So I sold Pfizer today. It was down slightly, I think. So I think on this graph, it's going to be about even with the dividend. So yeah, just down a couple points. Probably going to take like in between a 5 and 1% loss or something. I'm not sure exactly how it'll ultimately shake out at the end of the day. But move on with my life and find something that... And honestly, the bigger picture here, we'll zoom out a little bit. I want to find companies that are just under the radar that nobody's paying attention to in this kind of environment. I want to find small businesses that have nothing to do with the government, nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with trade. It's kind of hard to do. And they don't have to be in the U.S. either. So that's probably the main thing that in terms of adding more money to the market. I mean, I bought like 25 stocks this past year, so that's a lot. And I'm always looking, but it's going to be a time where you want to be pretty selective, I think, because the risks are just kind of unknown. You don't really know what's going to pop up here. There's probably a reason Buffett has 40% cash or something now. He might even have a little more than me at this point, so... I think on Bloomberg they said it was closer to 50, but he keeps selling and building more cash. There's probably a good reason for that, but I'll keep trying to find companies that I think I can kind of model the risk a little bit better. But Pfizer is sold. Best of luck to anybody that still owns it. I hope it does well, but it just doesn't have the right risk reward set up for me anymore. Okay, if you found this useful, hit the like and subscribe button. Normally I do pretty straight up valuations, but this is one of those situations where that's not the main, issue at hand. And I don't really want to deal with having to follow this stock for the next 2 years either. I don't think the reward is going to be worth it. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see everybody later.